Havok. Havok was the last of the X-Men for Psylocke to have to psychically convince to go through the Siege Perilous in Uncanny X-Men number 251. It's only through having to convince Havok that we truly learned that Psylocke had been mentally pushing them, as we see the psychic manifestation of her ability while she's trying to convince him. Havok really got a raw deal with the Siege Perilous. It seems like he's always the Summers brother who gets stuck with the short straw, and this little trip through mystical space and time was no exception for him. It took almost 20 issues before Havok would show up again, and in Uncanny X-Men number 270, he finally did, but it was certainly not as the hero that everyone remembered him as. Genosha had partnered with the crazy Cameron Hodge and his anti-mutant hate organization, The Right, and were going around stealing mutants to turn them into Genoshan slave mutates. Somehow, Havok had joined the ranks of the militant Genoshan magistrates, and he was among the crew who ransacked the mansion and kidnapped Storm, Boom Boom, Richter, and Wolfsbane to bring them back to Genosha for some gene-engineering. Storm was the first one to recognize Alex, but she was brainwashed into servitude before she had the chance to tell anyone about it. Later, when all the X-teams teamed up to rescue their captured teammates, the magistrates ambushed them and a fracas broke out, inevitably revealing to Cyclops that Alex was among the enemy ranks. Cyclops literally tried to knock some sense into Alex, but his amnesia from the Perilous, mixed with whatever sort of indoctrination the Genoshan government did to him, was far too strong. He really believed he was a born and raised Genoshan, and before Psyche could get through to him, Alex and the magistrates teleported away. He continued to defend Genosha, exposing Psylocke and Wolverine's bluff after they snuck into the headquarters as magistrates themselves. Again, the former teammates were shocked to see that Havok was working for the enemy, and by now, all the X-people basically knew he was a traitor. After a bit of a scuffle, Psylocke hit Alex with her psychic knife, hoping that it would scramble whatever was going on in his head and help him remember the hero that he was. It didn't do the trick though, and Alex was still under his cloud of confusion until he came across Cyclops a second time, who was now posing as a mutate slave. This time, Scotty used words instead of blows to try to get through to his little brother, including recollecting with him the most traumatizing experience of their lives of when they were kids and had to parachute out of a burning plane. Turns out, a little trauma is all it took, as Alex's memories all came back to him now and realized that his mind was all fudged up. There was no time for a teary brotherly reunion though, and Alex had to maintain his cover as a Genoshan magistrate by shooting and jailing Cyclops or else risking them both being captured. He maintained his charade, even as all the other X-Men were captured too, until he could take it no more and he revealed to Hodge and to everyone else that he was once more playing on the side of the Angels. He joined the X-Men in fighting Hodge and teamed with his brother to blow the X-Tinction Agenda headquarters to smithereens with some of those juicy Summers mutant power signatures. Reunited with the X-Men and with his memories that were removed from the Siege Perilous back intact, Havok went on to lead the reformed government X-Factor team and had the best hair in the business for the better part of a decade or so. He's remained a mainstay of the X-Comics pretty much ever since, and has actually just been confirmed to be a new member of the latest and greatest incarnation of the X-Men over on Krakoa. All that said though, I'm going to go ahead and say that traveling through the Siege Perilous was a bad thing for Alex. Other than saving his life from the Reavers when he needed saving the most, his doubts and qualms with the siege all proved to be totally justifiable, as coming out the other side, a Genoshan magistrate who hunted down his own kind and enslaved people into becoming mutates was definitely not a good look for him. It did him no favors, and he gained nothing life-changing from this experience other than being manipulated into becoming a bad guy, which, after this, becomes somewhat of a recurring theme for him over the years.